akukia bona katije apa chinjagia wangu ka baby akuchimbosia takarwane mashotse takila matanzi patanzi takila hata kushana ne baby wa mira kosika baby kakochoka koko uri pimani huya kuno bona mapepa kusheka chiku.
If you just tuned in, this is Martha Matsarenda Shumba on Radio 54 African Panorama as we create the Africa we want, creating the Africa we want. We have the topic with a hot topic today where we are looking at something that somebody responded and say this is something deep, but it should be done. It needs to be done. It needs to be tackled. We are looking at, do Black Americans feel supported by Africans, and do they feel that Africa is home when they are facing all the racism, when there is the Black Lives Matter happening? Of course, we saw everybody around the world during the George Floyd murder, that we stood together, held each other's hand. But when we look at our African leaders, how many are really standing the ground when our black brothers and sisters in America are facing the racial discrimination? How many are speaking out? How many are saying, you know what, this is it. You have called us to this UN something, but you do have the case of Breonna Taylor not resolved. Nope, we are not coming. We are not coming. Keep your funding, keep your sponsorship until you have fixed and sorted out what is happening at home. How many African leaders are doing that, or are standing up for our Black brothers and sisters in the US? Is it happening, or do we all call them when we want funding, sponsorship, support, when we are facing this and that, but we don't really care about how our brothers and sisters are doing? So that's where we are today. Stay tuned.
I see destruction and poverty. It's okay if you're coming with me. My love is your love. It'll take an eternity to break us.
So yeah, we are live on our Facebook page, and I see one of our guests, my King Ajamo, is already in studio to tackle this issue. And I just want to say to those who want to participate, you can also join in. I requested the login details. I shall provide them to you. You can also participate on our Facebook page, Radio 54 African Panorama Live. You can comment, you can share your thoughts, you can share whatever your take on this. The topic is, do Blacks in America feel supported by Africans during racism attacks, and do they feel like Africa is their home? Definition and focus is Americans who are Black. Do they see themselves as Africans? Do they feel connected to Africa? Do they even want to be part of Africa? Do they feel supported? It's very important to know those things. Do they really feel supported? It's kind of a difficult topic because I know that we can all be lost in translation and be lost sometimes. We just feel like, why should we? They're okay. We have seen them, making money. Like somebody was responding saying, look, we have seen them making millions. What else would they want from Africa? There's just nothing in Africa. But life is beyond money, man. It's beyond everything. You they need to belong. It's highly important. So stay tuned. We are here on Radio 54 with your M. Shumba. Anybody who wants to be part of this, kindly let me know. I'll send the link to you. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you and welcome to Radio 54 African Panorama. King Ajamu, welcome to Radio 54 once again. We've been with you. And Prince George, you're looking lovely. You're looking great. And it's good to see you again. I think it's been a long time. And his voice. You just go like that. Thank you and welcome. King Ajamu, are you with us? Oh, I think it's still logging in. Thank you so much for being part of today's show, today's topic, to discuss something that I do believe that we need to touch on it. There's so much expectations. I mean, from us here who are in Africa and looking at our brothers and sisters in the US, there's always expectations. We are facing this, we are facing that. We want you guys to come in. We want you guys to be part of it. We want you guys to actually come in. But do you feel the connection? With your African roots, do you feel that Africa is home? I mean, let's look at the politics in Africa. Let's look at things that you have read about Africa or things that are in the media. Do you feel that the environment is good to run to? Should there be anything that is happening in the US? This I'm throwing it at both of you, whoever can start with the topic.
Well, as long as the geopolitical, conditions are proper and clear, I think that there's always the connection, and that my brothers and sisters in Africa are always supportive. They're there because we were there, and we've always been connected. I mean, it's the home. So, going forward, the best thing is that we just have to just reconnect, because there was some sort of blockages that were occurring that we didn't fully know about. And now we're feeling that there is truth there for us to reconnect with and see.
Yeah, it's a bit the reconnection. Where do we start? How do we start it? Because I believe that there is most of our brothers and sisters who are in the US only know about what's happening in Africa through the media. And the media that we know sometimes is not really sharing the bigger picture. So how and where do we start the reconnection? Where do you feel or think this is where the reconnection should start?
I mean, as soon as possible, we have to open up new trade routes and travel routes, because these are the systems of teach and trade and learn, explore, experience. They're critical components of life. We learn kinesthetically through free movement, and without free movement through the land, I mean, how can we be expected to be learning about what's real and what's not?
That's true. That's right. Last year we had the George Floyd case, and I saw like the rest of Africa coming together and stuff like that. But I had like questions when we look at leadership, our African leadership. They are a bit hesitant, or I'm not sure what the right word to use, but they're a bit hesitant in terms of, just going out there and calling it as it is. Like, this is wrong, directing it to the American government, because that's where we get most of our funding. That's where we get most of the sponsorship. So my question is always been, should there be a repeat of what happened? How do you feel when you see that there is nothing that's being said by leadership? Of course, you have us civil society, you have us individuals coming together. But is there any expectation where leadership is concerned to actually say, all right, they are in here, they're saying enough is enough?
That's a very good question.
Yeah, and say it as it is.
So,
Hello, hello.
Yes, welcome.
Can you hear
Adam.
me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you perfectly.
Apologize for the time difference got me mixed up.
Okay. I also
Yeah.
thought it's 8 a.m. What time is it, guys?
Right now it's 7:20. It's really early in the morning. Well, it's not. I mean, it's not early, but uh, on a day like today, it's considered early. But it's all good. I mean, I would have gotten up earlier, but I misjudged the time. It was my fault.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay,
No,
I
no, no
posted.
need to apologize. Time is relevant
Okay.
because the way
All
I
right.
see it,
That's
I came in right on time. You know what I mean?
yeah, you did. You did. All right. Prince George, you can go on. You were about to respond to the question.
truth sometimes is a little bit sharp at the point,
Yeah.
and it's best to ease it in. You know, you don't have to rush it, but don't be afraid to just let it rip and be
Yeah.
free with it.
That's right. That's right. It gets difficult. King Ajam, you just joined in. I was
Uh-huh.
asking, giving reference to what happened to George Floyd. Like, you guys have seen these type of cases happening. Are there any expectations where African leadership is concerned, where you expect at least um, any president or any king in Africa or any chief in Africa to just come out and say, we are saying no to any funding from the American government as long as the George Floyd or the Breonna Taylor cases are not solved, as long as this racial discrimination is not stopped. Are there any expectations? Do you sometimes feel like we just wish there was more support from African leadership?
Yeah.
Yes, because, excuse me, brother. Let's go ahead and let you speak first. Others first.
Oh, I appreciate it. No, you could have spoken, but the way I see it, and the way I've been seeing it for many years, is that in most communities, regardless if they're in a diaspora or they're located on another continent, they tend to do things simultaneously. So
Okay.
let me give you an example. Um, the Jewish, well, I don't want to call it. Like, I'm not even going to use their example. Let me use the Arabs for an example.
Hmm.
They may in the United States undergo some type of racial tension or what have you.
Hmm.
And this is just an example. Then what happens is they may not do certain things within their community. They may I don't want to say protest, but they may economically protest against the powers that be. Normally, when you economically protest, the richest of the rich can feel it. Why? Because you're in their pockets now. So normally they start to lobby other political interests because everything politically is done through some type of money, some type of support economically. So certain people on the planet, they understand that. As far as Africans are concerned, there's a lack of economic support, only because there has been a suppression of the economic opportunities on the planet, simply because we may not dominate one industry over another. So my mindset has always been economic collaboration. Once you have that, regardless of what happens in the community, whether good or bad, people are going to listen, because now you're gonna be faced with sanctions, possibly. Like, these people are gonna say, we're not gonna deal with you, we're not going to buy from you, we're not gonna sell to you, that type of thing. Once we understand that, then I think we can start, setting the tone for different things, and people will have respect. They'll say, well, we can't mess with this African American because he or she is linked to Nigeria, or the rest of the continent, or it's not even about the countries. He or she is linked to an economic superpower, just like the Japanese. Nobody touches the Japanese.
That's
No
right.
one. Nobody
Wherever
touches.
they go.
Even after those two atomic bombs, after the two atomic bombs, they didn't come back militarily against the U.S. They came back economically.
Thank you.
And then
Thank you.
when they came back economically, they were able to dominate the U.S. through economic means. That's why today the United States has respect for the Japanese. They don't mess with them no more. They don't think about invading them. None of that stuff. So economically, they were able to, and actually, they just took something that was already there. They took an industry that was already there and made it better. That's all they did. So that's why I'm always on the subject of economic collaboration. Once you have that, no one's going to be shooting you down. No one's going to be giving you scraps. No one's going to deny you, metaphorically, your seat at the big table.
That's right.
And I think the problem is a lot of Africans feel that, economics is not the most powerful way to go about things, but it is, because you don't want to go against a group of people militarily when they have nuclear bombs and they got these shadow planes and unmanned aircraft. You can't go about it that way. It's not going to work. But economically, that is the last frontier, so to speak. And we have every resource known to man. We have it, and we have economic stability as far as money. So a lot of African Americans and people in Europe, they have tons of money, but they're not channeling it in the right direction. But
That's
there is no direction right now, from what I can tell, and I mean, so one way to mend the bond, to lessen problems all around the world, is there has to be one dominant industry that everybody tries to perfect. Once you perfect that one industry and you get it going, then you jump to other ones, because we're capable of managing multiple industries.
that's right. Wow, thank you so much for that. When we always look at things, we never go deep into looking at the economies. You find that African leaders wants to say something, but because they are dependent on the American government or these superpowers, it's very difficult for them to actually say anything. They will just have to choose between standing up or losing the bag, losing the funding. So I think it is now up to African leadership, civil society, individuals, the youth, women, everybody to be, to come together and say, let's rebuild Africa economically. only then we will be able to have a say on the table, because he who feeds you have the final say. Thank you so much, King Ajam, for that. Prince George wanted to say something before Ajam spoke, and I lost you in video. Oh, I think he's there somewhere. And also in studio, gentlemen. Oh, you can go on, Prince George. You can go on.
And can you please say that question again?
Oh
Or
yes,
just
we were all right. Yeah, we were looking at you know if there are any expectations from our black brothers in the US where African leadership is concerned. For example, during the George Floyd cases, were you expecting at least for African leaders to do something, close down embassies, uh, go
yes.
all crazy and say, "Oh, American businesses, please pack your bags until this is solved." This is, uh, when it comes to our black brothers, are there any expectations, and to what extent?
Yes, because Africa is, look at the resources. They are quite literally the resource of the world to a certain extent. There's always uh, a sharing of the load, but Africa must speak for all Africans.
That's right. That's right. And we can actually, like the example that King Ajama used about Japan, we can actually use the resources to stop
Yeah.
all these. Yes,
Oh, no, what I was gonna say too, you're right about that, Queen Shumba, that and Prince George is right about what he's stating. If you use the example of Japan, but if you just move it to 2021,
hmm,
anytime a bunch of countries are dependent upon one entity or several entities and their money or their banks, then it would make common sense to me that you start your own bank and you start that on your own. Like you jump off and do that on your own without saying anything to anybody. So
hmm,
with the cloak of privacy, you open up some type of African bank, for an example,
that's
and
right.
then from there you gradually let go of the other people's banks. So that's why there's always been this overwhelming desire to not allow Africans to
Yes,
establish a
you
main
with me, King
bank.
Ajamo? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
All right. So yeah, that's why there's been this overwhelming desire to kind of destroy or stop and a movement toward Africa forming their own bank based off of the resources that are there on the continent. Because some people may realize that once that happens, then there's no longer a need for a bank outside of the continent. But right now, all of the economic weight is outside of the continent. It's not within. And for me, studying the continent for a long time, that seems to be the problem. All right. So it can move. It can shift. It can shift from Europeans over to China to Asians. It can shift over to. It can shift. So it's not about race per se and all of that. It's real simple. It's about money. So like the Japanese, for instance, they started their own banks and they based their own banks and their own economy off of their own stuff. And
That's
and
right.
and they were not afraid because they knew in the future we have to have something self-sufficient in order to compete on an
Hmm,
on a world economic level. That's
hmm,
why their money is still worth a lot is worth a lot. The yen is not a weak currency. It never has been.
hmm.
So it's just I don't know. I mean, we got a lot of examples. I mean, look at
Yeah, that's right.
Vietnam. Look at Vietnam. They a bunch of rice farmers. and I'm not using that in a derogatory term, but they were growing rice. The French came in. They said, get out. They made them get out. The United States went in and they said, get out. And they made them get out. And then they built up their country. And now they're an economic, they're not an economic, I don't want to say economic power, but they're doing very well economically. How is that? I mean, there's so many examples. So I think on this show today, I'm encouraging our people on the continent and in the diaspora, meaning the United States, wherever blacks are at. Can you like do something? Can we come up with one industry, just one on our own, and no one can infiltrate it? No one has any say in it, and we dominate that. We call the shots. And some people like, oh, that's that. Oh, there you go, brother Jamu. That's racist. That's prejudice. And all, man, shut up. Everybody else is doing it.
Why not us?
Yeah, I don't get it. Why there's like this imaginary wall within our minds. Like we can't do it without somebody else's help. Why do we need someone else's help when they actually take our ideas and use our ideas and make lots of money off of it? Our ideas, not theirs. We're the inventors. We're the creators. I know that's a strong word, but it's true. We create from thin air. I don't know why we don't. I don't understand why we don't see that power. Out of nowhere, we just create stuff. And I know some people are like, "Oh, wait, you're going too far, Jamu." Create. Yes, create. We create ideas. There's many times. I'm a school teacher. For the listeners, I'm a school teacher here in the United States. And I actually come up with innovative things in my classroom, and people are like, where did you get that from? And I tell them, I got it from my mind, my African mind. And that's exactly how I say it. I don't care I don't care who's around me. I don't care. I tell them it's an African mind. I created it. So therefore, that's it right there. It came out of nowhere. And it really didn't come out of nowhere. It's in there. It's in it, all of us. It's just that we don't go get it from within ourselves. We don't go get that stuff, man. It's right there. It's been there. It's in our DNA.
That's right. So I also look at the situation sometimes like we need to take back our power. And we sit here and look at leadership, which plays an important role, by the way. But there are things that we can do. Looking at what's happening, giving an example of what's happening in Ethiopia right now, they are taking charge. They're simply saying no more media selling the wrong information about what is happening in our country. We do not want the US government to come in and do this and that. This is us, this is Africa, this is our country, this is our continent. And it's been amazing. We saw something else happening in Nigeria. That was last year, the youth coming together, standing up to leadership and refusing to call on superpowers to come and come in and impose solutions, because it will all end with Africa giving up something for help that we get from the outside world. We are also joined in studio by an Ethiopian lady. I don't know how to pronounce her name. I've been trying. I have it in voice note, but it's not easy. My head. I think she will introduce her name. I'm going to mess it up.
Okay, no, it's fine. We all should try. Like Mahlet.
Welcome in studio. Where are you, Queen? Are you
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So my name is Mahlet because you asked me to introduce myself, so I was just saying my name.
Yeah.
Yeah, with an H, so Mahlet. Thank you very much, Marta, or my sister, really, for giving us or me this opportunity. I better say it us, because we need to bring that Ubuntu spirit when we speak, when we do that. I am because you are. So through me, whatever I'm going to speak, I'm sure there are others, my brothers and sisters, the same voice we have. Yeah, I just want to reflect on what you said, that connection between Africans in the diaspora and Africans at home. I do ask myself, the same question, especially after we are faced in the last year when Ethiopia is in this conflict and not having that support, and that voice from the Africans in diaspora. There are reasons I can bring, but I just want to say that there was that connection. For example, when Italy, 3-4 times they have invaded us, but for the last time in 1935, when they invaded us, there were African Americans. There's a film, there's a picture, there's a history written about it, that literally were lined up and registered to come and fight for Ethiopia, and saying no more colonialism. We are going to support Ethiopia. Ethiopia was that last beacon of the African people, the Black people, of freedom, and you are not going to take away that from us. And they came and they supported, they fought in there also through money, through knowledge. There was that connection. And but recently, we didn't see that support. But also this is because, I hear my echo. Do you hear me good? Is that okay?
Yeah. No, you
Yes,
good.
go ahead.
Yeah.
So during, ever since Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed came in 2018, that was in March, the man has showed us he's not, that puppet leader that's going to vow for the Westerners. He's up, for the development of the country, to say we don't want aid, we are going to bring light and electricity for our people, and we're going to finish this dam. And because of that, we have been, for the last 1 year, we have been, Ethiopia was the subject 12 times up until now, just in 1 year, in 12 months, 12 times in the United Nations Security Council, because of the dam and because of this conflict that we have. And this is really for the first time. So this prime minister, just like those leaders that when they stand up and they are going to bring that economic independence to their people, they immediately become a target of the Western. We think that just because physically these people left us, after colonialism, okay, Ethiopia was not colonized, but even in all African countries, we think that we are colonized from the mind into everything. Yes, the leaders have failed us, but one other thing is there is media that is really playing a major role in failing us, even, in this time where we think that there's a lot of consciousness and awakening amongst the Black people, amongst African people. How many medias? We have this social media that we really don't want those big media to represent us or to bring our voice. We are not really doing enough to bring that voice which is different from the Western media and our own national broadcasting service, or even the private ones in the continent. They just keep on copy pasting what is told by the Western media. Recently, in the beginning of this month, you may all remember that US is trying basically, literally to invade Ethiopia, and in the name of intervention, in the name of humanitarian aid. So what they did is they brought in their headlines in CNN together with their BBC people that the capital of Addis Ababa is under siege. Yes, we do have a war, but not in the capital. It's just in the small part of the northern part of the country. And they advised their people to evacuate on immediate notice, and putting all those commercial flights notice and everything, as if the country is you know, like we are not literally asking, which Ethiopia are you talking about? Which Addis Ababa are you talking about?
You are right. You're right. I saw a picture of one guy, a black guy, who is actually an American, who took a picture and posted it on social media and say, "I'm in Ethiopia. Where is this thing that you're talking about happening?" It was crazy. Like, now, who is telling the truth here?
Yeah.
Who is?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you allow me just to go on, so there was this Ugandan man who defied it. Actually, there was this Ugandan journalist who happened to be in the country on the night of that news was released by CNN. He happened to fly to Ethiopia, not only him, with other also Eastern African countries who had their program to be trained in media. This is, you know, the IGAD countries. There was South Sudan, Kenya, Uganda, and there was a couple of others. So they didn't know what to expect. Okay, is the airport also under control? Is it the military that's going to welcome? They literally didn't know in that 1 hour, 2 hour flight that they have from Eastern Africa to Addis what to expect. So he come and he said it's just business as usual from airport to the whole entire capital. And he didn't say anything. He said, okay, let me just go out of the city. Let me wait, because the training was located 100 kilometers away from the capital city. So they went there, and he still sees there is not, it's just business as usual. And the people do not even seem, you know, to think like there's something going on in the country. And that might be good or bad, but, you know, in a way, but there's nothing. So he went and tweeted, actually, he said he's from Uganda. There is more army in Kampala than in Addis Ababa. And his tweet went viral. And it has got millions of tweets and retweets, you know, because that literally, so he was literally asking the CNN, what are you talking about? The country is in peace. Yes, there is a war, but there's no need to evacuate or anything. And there were people also who said, literally, foreigners, we are not going to leave the country because there's nothing danger, or like our security is not endangered. So we are fighting this misrepresentation in the media. Those media, they work. The journalists for who they are, for who they are paying, they are paid for. So, but we need to come up as an African to use our platform. People like you, and also other private business people, and bring that and, you know, expose the lie. We cannot just, you know, like, the Ugandan or the Kenyan cannot just copy paste what is told by CNN or BBC. Ethiopia is the next country. It's a 1 hour flight. If you cannot fly, you know, set up a Zoom meeting and ask from the source what is going on. You can bring also those from the rebels, what they have to say. I'm not saying just represent the Ethiopian side or the government side. So there is a lot of misrepresentation, and the media has failed us. And the other thing is also education. We don't learn, you know, the African Americans, if we ask really where do they lose or that connection, let alone the Africans who live in Africa, but they don't get a lesson or education about the Africans who were actually the Black people before Columbus. Their education starts, America was discovered by Columbus, but we do see the status, and many historical recordings, they tell us that there were Black people before Columbus. So they cannot deny that. It's not just in the textbook of the, so we need to go back to our own if it's not given in the normal education or in the education system, we need to go back. I mean, there are many centers that I know, even African Americans, who are really awakening the African American people. And on the side of the African Americans themselves, also, they need to make that effort, you know, to reconnect with the continent, with their motherland. You know, it could be in terms of travel. I know there are African Americans who organize every year. You know, they bring people to Ethiopia, they bring people to Egypt. This is some of that I know. There might be also others. So we do miss that, we have that gap, but at the same time also we have opportunity to use this social media and get connected with the motherland. There's, you know, it also asks requires our own effort. So in terms of Ethiopia, I can go on. We really need support. Ethiopia is right now, yes, the war has started between these rebels who are trying to dismantle the unity of the country. And on the other hand, there's a government who is trying to keep the unity of the country. Now, those who want us to see Ethiopia into smaller nations, because that way we become weak, and they're gonna use it as a proxy war between countries. America will not, if they intervene, I tell you, they will not allow a single soul of America to die. They know what happened to them in Somalia. If they use it, they are going to use our own brothers and sisters. Black people come and intervene and pay them to do that. So we need to create that awareness and to say no. We need to see that unity. Right now, Ethiopia, the war has evolved into something else. We are fighting an African war. This is and if we win, this gonna change Africa forever. So when Kenya is next attacked, so they know that when Ethiopians all over the world, by uniting and bringing their Africans and brothers, what kind of power they got, they're gonna say that no, we are not going to do it. Actually, we saw Ethiopians win you, so we will be our brothers' keepers, as the Bible says. So we really need to unite for our own sake. It's not only for Ethiopia. Let me just stop there and thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you so much for everything that you have summarized. And just picking from what she said, there is so much lack of unity, and there is a need for us to own one, like King Ajam said, to own our economy. Then we become a powerhouse. Second, the media. I said earlier that the information that is being sold to our Black brothers and sisters in the US, it's quite something else. The way Africa is being painted, it's a place where you just feel like, will I be safe if I go there? So many don't want to come and be part of or invest in Africa because of that. We are also not doing our best to do what? To share that information. So there is a need for us to recreate, to innovate, to come up with our own solutions. I'll read something that I have here before we can proceed. I got this from I think that was you, King Ajamo, who shared this on our Facebook page. That said 70% of security force in apartheid South Africa were Black. England occupied Egypt with 80,000 soldiers, of which only 1,000 were British, and the remaining were recruits from its colonies, mainly Indians. France occupied Syria with an army made of Africans, mainly from Algeria and Senegal. Moral of the story, our weakness is what makes our enemy strong. How do we bridge that gap? How do we stop being used?
Right.
Because the possibility of unity is there. Diaspora to Africa, African to African, coming together as a continent is there. But the rebels that we are fighting, that's being used, that's being funded, they are still our Black brothers and sisters. Those rebels don't come as whites or whatever. They come like us. How do we stop that? How do we stop being used? How do we stop being on the forefront? When they want to share certain information that is bad, it's always using one of us against us. How do we stop that? Yeah, anybody can.
What? Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow, that was a interesting comments the sister made from Ethiopia. Yeah, she's right about the African Americans that signed up to fight in Ethiopia back in 1935. That was instigated, or I should say, that was organized by the UNIA. So that was an organization started by Marcus Garvey. Honorable Marcus Garvey. Yeah, my family's from Harlem, so a lot of our people in my family signed up for that war as well, and we still talk about it till this day. Um, the media. I'm not sure why we haven't realized that. She mentioned the media. That everything that the media, they're professional liars, plain and simple, professional liars. And what I do is when I watch the media, I do the opposite of what I see on TV. So I do the opposite, or I do the opposite. I don't follow everything that I see because I know they're professional liars. There's an agenda. And the media is very strong, especially now. You can see it. There's a book by a man named Noam Chomsky. And I think a lot of people need to read the book. It's called Media and Propaganda. And it's a really good book. And he goes into it really deep there. But I mean, divide and conquer has always been a tactic that a lot of different people use across the planet. She was talking about how there were Africans in the so-called Americas before the European. I mean, that is true. I mean, we started every civilization on the planet. Out of Africa, out of East Africa, out of Ethiopia, out of Uganda, out of Sudan, out of Somalia, we spread across the planet. We started Mesopotamia, India, China, you name it. And then last but not least, Ethiopia to me is a calling card for full unity. It is a calling card for full unity. If we don't unite now, it's over. It's over for our further generations. Ethiopia should be able to, we should be able to show our young people that and any African that we can have a disagreement, but we'll handle it, and then we're gonna move on from here. I know it's gonna be difficult because people have died, people have been murdered and killed, and all sorts of things supposedly. And one thing is that Ethiopia is one of those countries that I don't know. Throughout time, they've always succeeded. They've always succeeded. So I guess the question that you raised, you're back. I saw you kind of disappeared. The question you raised was what was the question again? Because I want to make sure I answer
okay.
it.
All right. Okay. So sorry, I had some network issues on my side. Yes. So I was looking at what Mallet said, who spoke of the media not coming on board, sharing the right picture and so forth. So from somebody who is based in the US, the picture that is painted about Africa, it's sometimes quite not what exactly is on the ground. So how do we bridge that gap?
Yeah, well, the problem is that a lot of our people on this side tend to go to CNN. They go to different ABC News, NBC News, and they're not understanding who controls those media. All right, a lot of people don't know that there is some wealthy Jewish people that are controlling those channels. And what you have to do is you have to say to yourself, man, let me not look at that. I don't know how to make a person not look at those channels, because those channels are advertised in a way that the person thinks in the US that's the only place they can get news from. So I'm not sure how to change that mentality. But me personally, I was always told never trust the media because they're professional liars, and do the opposite of what you see on those particular platforms. So what I do is I go over to other forms of news. Like, for instance, if I want to know about Ethiopia, I would try to get their national newspaper, even though that may not be the best, but at least I'm getting the information from the country. We don't do that here. A lot of African Americans, for some reason, they don't do that. It's like, why would you get news from a source that you know is not going to be close to the truth? Once you go to the source, you want to learn about Jamaica, go get it's called the Gleaner, the National Gleaner. That's the name of the newspaper. Go read it. You want to learn about Trinidad, go read their national newspaper. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I don't know why, and we don't teach that. We don't teach that in the schools, in the colleges. Maybe in the college, if you take a course, they might emphasize that. But the big thing is CNN, here in the States, ABC, NBC News, these, and they call them major news channels and all that stuff, but they're giving you Fox News. They're giving you, I mean, come on, Fox. A Fox is sly. A Fox is always trying to slither its way to its prey. It doesn't come, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't come outright like a lion. Lion comes out and says, I'm hungry, I'm gonna go eat. And I'm gonna go kill this thing, and I'm gonna go sit down, I'm gonna eat. A fox doesn't do that. A fox is behind the scenes, low, it goes around the trees, you know what I'm saying?
Smiling.
Come on, you guys, come on. I mean, Fox News, come on. So anyway, I don't know how to change that mentality, because I've been doing that for at least 10 to 15 years now. And I've been teaching it in my classes to my students, is that you gotta get away from certain forms of sources and go to other forms of sources, and then you can maybe get the truth. Or now we're on social media, you try to befriend somebody from wherever you're trying to get information from, and then maybe they will speak, because they'll feel less comfortable. I mean, they'll feel more comfortable, I should say, on the social media, because they don't know you. They don't know you. You don't know them. And they might say something or give you, which is true. So we have to teach that. Now, as far as Africa being shown in a negative light, I mean, most of the time when I see Africa on television, you always see stuff like you always see, like, oh, well, there's someone dying in Mali, or there's someone dying in Ethiopia, or there's someone dying. I'm talking about dying from hunger, hunger. And then they always say, oh, if you give $1 today, it's gonna make a difference, and boom, boom, boom. But they don't tell you that those people are dying because of the fact that the IMF won't lend money to that particular nation to build up their infrastructure or to build up their economy, so that person doesn't have to beg or seem like they're begging for food. So that's the type of stuff that we see, and we don't go beyond that. We just see and go, oh, I don't want to go there because we got Walmart on this side and we got all this food, so I don't want to go to Africa and this, and then you look at the person like, are you serious? Like, wow. So you just went off of that one commercial, which was a bunch of garbage anyway, and then you actually think that everybody over there is starving? And then what about the people here in the U.S.? I'm faced with beggars. I hope people hear me. I hope people are listening. Every day I go to work, there are people begging for money right here in the United States at the stoplight, asking for money. Hey, you got $1? Hey, no, I don't got no dollar. No, I'm sending my money to Africa. I don't have $1. Sorry. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Some people, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that to that man or that woman. I go, well, I'm giving my money to Africa. I told them the truth. I didn't lie. You see? So the thing is even here in the United States, people are begging, but you don't see that on TV. I'm talking about families.
Yes.
I'm talking about families with big old posters talking about, we hungry, we haven't eaten in weeks or whatever. Give us money, help us out. You don't see that on TV. You don't see that.
They
but
try and cover up.
Yeah, of course. So the thing is, the point I'm trying to make is that we as a people on this side have to go beyond that and try to figure out, okay, what is really going on in this. There's going to be hunger in different parts. I don't think there's any place where there may not be hunger to a certain extent, because some people take more than what they need. So sometimes the hunger is not really hunger, it's just a greed. But I'm not going to go there. But the thing is that there are people that are in need, but we have enough resources and we have enough money to cover hunger. We can solve hunger. We don't need any type of other intervention to come in and solve the hunger problem, because the hunger problem was caused by us, if that makes sense. The only analogy I can use is that we're sort of like in this in Africa, we're sort of in this big like ant farm, so to speak. And we're the ants. So whoever created the farm, they created it. And they put the little sand in there and they put the little ants in there. But we the ones that are creating these problems within the ant farm, if that makes sense.
That's right. That's
Okay,
right.
it's not this outside entity that is, or whatever created the ant farm is like, yo, we want to create all these problems within your ant farm. It's just watching the ant farm, just looking at it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So to speak. I'm using that metaphorically. And within this ant farm, we're causing all the problems. We are causing the problems, and we alone are the ones that need to fix it. So back to the media part, if we can just fix, I mean, I don't know how to, I don't know. I guess, I mean, going on a talk show, going on TV, it seems that those type of things may work. But like I say, I try to stay away from any mainstream media, because I know that they like to manipulate certain things, or they only take on stories that they feel will fit an agenda. So they already
That's
have a preconceived agenda before they even. That's why they interview you. Why would you interview someone before you put? You don't interview me. You never interviewed me. You know me, Queen Shumba, but you never really like sat down. Oh, well, what are your views on this? What are your views on that? But and the reason why they do that is because they don't want you going on and saying something that's outside of the agenda.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, you gotta go. Oh, we gotta go to commercial. We gotta go to commercial, guys. We gotta go. He said something, you know. So the point I'm trying to make is that we have to understand the dynamics of the media, because it's manipulating things to an extent that we are actually believing lies. Like I can't even. It makes me very upset and angry to a certain degree that we would actually accept a lie and call it the truth. And then when someone like me or Queen Shumba or Prince George or Malet comes in and says, wait a minute, hold up, guys. That's not the truth. The truth is this. And then, oh no, get away. Stop it. Oh no, you're evil. You're wrong. Oh. And it's like, wait a minute. Did you listen to the person first? Did you analyze what they said versus what was said on the media? Did you go check it out? No, I didn't. It just sounds crazy. Well, that's another flaw that we have as a people, is that we
Yeah.
love hearsay. We love some hearsay or gossip, but we
And
don't
I
want to
think,
sit down and check it out. Go ahead.
yeah, I also think that the divide and conquer that they used actually worked. Now that we're working up, there are other people who still need to do the catch up. I shared something with someone, and the person said, oh, no, I'll be back. Within a few minutes, the person came back and said, it's not on CNN, it's not on BBC. So it simply means to them, if it's not shared on those platforms, it simply means it's not true. And it's actually deeper. Here, we do have, let's just to say we take a black person. This is Queen Malet is on national television and she's speaking about what's happening in Ethiopia. And then we take a white guy who is supposedly come from the UN and he came with the donor funding and stuff, and he's speaking on national television. Guess who's gonna be listened more? Guess whose story is gonna be taken serious? the white person. Sorry about using the racial card, but that's how things have been programmed to be. To
Yeah,
be
of course.
listened to be relevant, they have managed to do that. They've managed to take over industries just being a white person. And us as Black people, we're actually falling into that trap without listening to someone. If I can come and say I had Prince George in studio, this is who he is. Take it. Who is he, George? Oh, okay. He's as a Black American who is based in the USA, and this is what he do. He's a youth. He's 21 years old, and
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
okay, who is he? Who is you want to know who is he? He is a passionate person. He is a lover of Africa. He is a lover of the world. He's a lover of Black people. That's why we take him in studio. There's quite something when it comes to being a Black person and being listened to. We can create our own broadcasting studios. We can come up with our own media, but it takes a lot of work to get our own Black people, to listen to you, to buy into the narrative, to understand that out there's a fight. It's just not easy. What I want to say to someone, I don't need to convince the rulers of this world, if I can say the white people. I don't need to convince them of who I am. I simply need to convince my own people of who I am. That's what matters to me. And if 100 of people be like that, come in and say, I'm King Ajamu. This is what I stand for. We need to rebuild Africa. And 100 people agree with him. That's all we need.
Right. No, you're right.
To get Black people to buy into that idea. I don't know. Lack of education, like Malet was saying, lack of education within our people. We are not educating one another. We are not taking each other to that level of saying we are Black people and we can do it. Now, rebuilding. Yes, go on.
But a lot of the people that I'm talking to are educated, quote unquote. So they do have these high or these higher collegiate diplomas and whatnot. But I still see in them this craziness, and I'm looking at them like, well, wait a minute, you what? How do you have a doctorate supposedly, and you don't cure anything? And I'm not talking about a medical doctor. I'm talking about just a regular doctor. If you're a doctor of economics, you better solve the economic problem. If you're a doctor of whatever. Agriculture, you better be able to grow something anywhere on the planet. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is that you got these people with these big degrees and all this stuff, and they still thinking the same. And they Black, they African, or whatever you want to call it, because I know some people get upset when you say Black or African or what. All right, whatever. They from the continent. And somehow, some way, whether it was 10 generations ago or whether it was yesterday, they're from the continent and they're thinking in this whacked way. And some people go, well, you can't blame everybody, blah, 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 blah. No, okay, ain't nobody blaming everybody. What I'm trying to say is that there's something being taught to these individuals when they're in grade school, when they're in high school. I'm not sure if you guys, I think over there you guys call primary and secondary. Mm-hmm. And then from there, when they go to college, they're taught this mentality. And then when they get to college and they go out in the professional world and they become leaders and they become fathers and mothers, they teach the same junk that they was taught to their children. And now the children are walking around thinking the same way. You know, you're right. When an European person, it don't even have to be a European. It could be anyone non-African. Anybody non-African or they ain't from the continent. If they speak and they got these big titles, everybody listening. For some reason, everybody's listening. Oh, yeah, they're right. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Oh, my gosh. They said it. Oh, they said it. And then you're like, but wait a minute. This other sister said it. Or, and she had the same title, but she said it months ago.
Months ago, and they did not
And y'all
listen.
chastise her. And let me give you a real live scenario. There was a sister from South Africa, and she said that this is dealing with COVID. She said, "Oh, I've been treating my patients and blah blah blah, and I've been using some type of drug, and it's working." They condemned her, they chastised her, they said she was wrong, blah blah blah. And then later on, some white dude come about and an Indian man come about and say, "Oh yeah, we use the drug and it works," and I'm like, "What? Wait a minute."
And everybody was there. So what
Wait a
happened?
minute. What about the lady? Did you go back and apologize? Did you go back and put her on the news and say, "Look, we apologize. We're sorry. We misrepresented you"? No. They just left her be, and that could have destroyed her career. That could have destroyed her life. But they don't give a darn. That's what I keep trying to tell our people. I try to tell our people, man. And there's some wise people in my family. They told me. They said, "Ajamu, when brothers and sisters come against you, do not get mad at them. When they come against you, don't get mad at them." I said, "Why not? I want to stand up on my own 2 feet." There go your ego. Chill. Do not get mad at them. And I said, and by the way, that's my grandmother. I said, no, I call her Nana. We called her Nana because she thinks her lineage is out of Ghana. On my mother's side, I'm sorry, on my father's side. On my mother's side, they're Yoruba. They're out of Nigeria. Anyway, well, my mother knows that for a fact. But the other, anyway, so my Nana said to me, the reason why they come against you is because they're trained to do that. They're trained in their mindset to do that. And I was like, what is she talking about? But now I get it. I've been had it. I've known that for years. And I'm like, man, how do I change that? I don't want them to hear this. Yeah, but I'm telling you, people here in the States, they will hurt you if you got some.
The thing is the age. When we talk about the education and educating people, it's not just the education that we have where we are put in competition of, oh, you can't do mathematics, you are not good, so you are not good enough, and you are defined by your grades and stuff like that. There is a very good example that one Max Moyo, a motivational speaker, once said, when I'm talking about quality education, I'm talking about teaching a mango tree how to be productive and how to produce quality and more mangoes. The education that we have today is taking a mango tree to a peach production university where it is taught to produce peaches, but it's a mango tree. It was a very good example of what we are facing here in Africa. We are taught to serve the master. So when you come to factory settings to say, wait a minute, I'm an African, this is what I should be served, you are reminded of what you should be. You are reminded of being number one and compete with your own brother and your own sister. We look at what's happening in Ethiopia right now. Some people who are based in Zimbabwe, some people in South Africa, it's life goes on. It's Ethiopia, then what? Other African presidents are not coming on board because what? They are all fighting to be included at tables where they are making decisions. It's all about being number one for our country, for our economy, for wherever we are. Going back to factory settings to say, but Africa, it's not there. That's what we were not taught. We were taken from being mango producers to peach producing, but we are mangoes. So it's something that is so deep. It will take years and a shift of mindset to move from that.
I agree.
It will take years. So I think we once had a discussion, and Prince George was there, about the exchange programs. You remember that? Yeah, we spoke about the exchange programs that we said we should be doing, which is the youth who are based in the US. They are not aware of what's happening, and they have to learn from media, from social media, from the internet and stuff like that. How about we do programs where we bring in Prince George, come here, you see what's happening in South Africa. He engaged with South African youth in South Africa. learn their languages, learn their way of living, learn the basics. When he goes back, what do you think is going to tell the youth in the United States?
He's going to tell them the truth.
What do you think is going to do in mobilizing resources, in mobilizing ideas to invest in Africa?
It's going to encourage it because the people are going to know the truth, and they're not going to be afraid. There's nothing's going to stop them to try to help the brothers and sisters on that side. Nothing.
Exactly. So it's now begins with us. We need to relearn and learn at the same time. There are things that we need to let go and also let in. But how to get there? How do we get there when we are divided by being one is a Black American, one is an African American?
Yeah, I think a lot of that. I think a lot of that division was created. It tends to be created on this side. I know people who, if I say to them, and mind you, they're of African descent. If I tell them, "Oh, you're a New Yorker," they're okay with that. If I say that they're an American, they're okay with that. If I say whatever, they're okay with that. But if I call them an African, they get upset. They get upset. I'm not no African. I'm like, what? I'm like, and then me, I at that point I'm like, woo, conversation is over. I don't care who you are. But then I just get quiet and I'm looking at them like, and then they're like, I can't believe you call me an African. I'm not no African. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, wow. Okay.
But you have learned so much. If I can pose this question to Prince George, he's not he's not a teacher or get involved with students from different walks of life and stuff like that. There he is. How does he connect to somebody who is in the continent? How does he feel like it's easy, or is it difficult to connect with somebody who is in the continent when you have never interacted with them? Doesn't it feel a little bit weird, or like you are out of place and stuff like that? Because it takes a lot. It takes a lot of involvement. Coming from nowhere, if I can say, you can come to Africa, spend some time. Doesn't it feel offish? The connection. I think I hope
I'm
I
not sure
haven't
if
lost
he's
it.
here.
Okay. You pick up when he gets back online. I think we did lose him. Okay, we can go on, because I do feel that when you are talking to some brothers and sisters who are back that side, they don't know where to start, King Ajam. They don't know where to start.
Right.
You post in some groups to talk about. I'll keep on referring to the situation in Ethiopia, since it's a burning situation right now. When you tell them like what's happening, this is the capital, the UN capital, and the Africa Free Trade Zone, everything is set in Ethiopia and stuff like that, they don't get what you're talking about.
Right.
So are there any platforms where they can start with, rather than for us to impose on our problems and seek them their involvement when they are not connected?
Yeah, a lot of it is done intentionally. Like I said before, a lot of the blacks on this side that are very influential, or they, I'm just saying the average person, if they have a degree from say, okay, let me give you an example. My degree is from a University of Central Florida, which is not a all black university. So there are all black colleges supposedly in the US. And what I mean by supposedly is that they could be all black in enrollment, but behind the scenes they're being funded by Europeans. But anyway, there are universities like that. A man or a woman that comes from a university like that has a hard time dealing with a person like me, who came from a university that was predominantly white. Even though the only reason why I went to that university is because I couldn't go to an all black university because of the fact that I had a family and I was in this area where I'm at now, Orlando, Florida. So the Black University is up in Tallahassee, which is about 4 hours away. I don't know anyone up there. I didn't have that economic base there. My mother was here in Orlando because her family moved down from New York to Orlando. And then I had the economic base from her. She was able to help me. No one else was. So
That's right.
anyway, I went to the college. I know I turned a lot of heads at the college because of my pro-Black nationalistic ideas, which I didn't even think were nationalistic or pro-Black. I just thought, hey, it's that's how you're supposed to think if you're a Black person in America. But I made a lot of enemies in a sense just from saying certain comments, and I wasn't trying to put anyone down. It wasn't even like that. It was just there's a difference in thought pattern, and I realized that later my mindset was different than those individuals. So there's a people have a problem when they come from those all Black universities and they're in these groups like sororities and fraternities and stuff, and then they meet a person like me and they're like, oh, wait a minute, he more Black than us, quote unquote, or his mindset is different from us. So how did he get that? And he didn't go to an all Black university in America. And the reason why I got that is because my family they're already Garveyites. They're already understanding this thing called Pan-Africanism, which I know in Africa, I'm understanding now, Pan-Africanism is negative. It's a negative thing to a certain extent. People think it's about violence and hate and revenge, and I don't have hate or revenge. I don't have any hate or revenge against anyone. I'm like, where do you get that from? It's kind of insulting because you're like, well, wait a minute, I don't think that way. So why would you think that way? So there's a disconnect there. I'm starting to figure out where it's coming from. I won't reveal it right now, but I know I kind of have an idea where that's coming from because I'm a person that likes to solve problems. I don't want to sit here and give out all the problems. I want to solve.
Yeah, we need to look for the solutions.
Yeah, for the solution. Not the thing. I know what the problem is. I need to get the solution so we can get around it.
Yeah.
So anyway, and notice I say we, not I, but we can get around it. So the that's one issue is the Black universities. People that come from there, they look down at other people, other Blacks in the country, and then they think, if they get into these upper echelons of these companies and government organizations, they're actually doing better than those other Blacks that are in the United States. So there's this hierarchy thing going on, right? And this kind of like weird thing. And then on top of that type of echelon, those type of hierarchies, there's this thing called self-hate. So a lot of brothers on this side just hate, being Black, so they try to act like they're not. And then that becomes an issue in itself because people can read you and realize, well, wait a minute, you're not being yourself.
Talking about that, I'm seeing a comment here from Tabitha. Tabitha, who is saying, I know people who are abroad, who are Zimbabwean, who hate being African. Now that they want nothing to do with Africa, they now think there is no need to worry about Africa and their problems. Now
she's right.
Yeah.
I met some people like that. She's right. I've met some people right here in Orlando. I told matter of fact, Queen Shumba, I met some Zimbabwe ladies who look very like their skin look different than yours. Like you have that Zimbabwe, that you have that look. That's why I keep calling you Queen Shumba, because you have that look. Like when people look at you, like when I look at you, I'm like, that's a queen. I don't give a darn what nobody say. You. But I'm just saying, these ladies were from Zimbabwe, the same country, but their skin was lighter than mine. And I was looking at them like, how did their skin get so light? I was thinking that in my mind. And then on top of that, I told them, I said, where y'all from? And then they said, oh, we're from Zimbabwe. I said, oh, I know a sister from Zimbabwe. Her name is Queen Shumba. She brings me on her radio shows and blah, 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 blah. And you know what? They ignored me. Here in Orlando. And I looked at it. I said, hey, sisters, I know you hear me talking to you. I'm standing right before you. And by the way, this is my friend's store that you're in, and I need an answer. And then they say,
Yeah,
"Oh,
like,
we in America now. We in Orlando now." I said, "What that mean? You still facing the same problems that you faced on that side. Over here, it's even worse. You just don't know it yet because everything looks so nice
yeah.
and pretty. You don't know it yet, but it's coming. And guess what? We'll still take you back. We'll still take you back in our community. Okay."
Let's still take you back. So
Yeah,
that's
and I told them, I said, you, and then I told them, I said, you guys are like the lightest Africans I've ever seen in my entire life. I said, you should be proud of your melanin, of your skin color. You should be proud. Now, are there Africans that are light skinned? Yes,
yeah,
naturally.
we do
Yes,
have
I get that.
naturally. Yeah,
Yeah,
quite
but
a
to
lot.
me, it looked to me, this is just my opinion, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I will accept if I'm wrong. But it looked like their stuff was unnatural.
Yeah, there are some who are bleaching their skin to become lighter. We do have the
Wow.
natural ones, and you can tell here in, especially in South Africa. Now, I've lived in Limpopo, which is very hot, very very hot. But the Pedi people are light skinned. They are light skinned. I even know one of my friends, Gloria. She's white, like her skin, but that's natural. A lot of them are
I
naturally
get
white.
that. I get the
Then we
natural
do
light
have
skin.
them in Zim. In Zim, we do have like Tabita. She's a Zimbabwean, naturally light skinned.
Yeah, but it looked, but you could tell something natural from not natural. At least
From
I
yes,
can.
yes.
At least I can. And I'm not saying that. And by the way, why is it that the light skin is preferred over the dark skin when I don't think people understand that there's a big old hole in the ozone layer on the planet. There's a hole. There's actually an imaginary hole, and it's getting bigger. And what's happening is these dangerous ultraviolet rays are penetrating the planet. So if you have melanin actually reflects those harmful ultraviolet rays naturally. Also,
Yes.
too, melanin reflects radiation that comes from your cell phones and your computers. So the darker skin you are, the more
The better.
adaptable you are to the changing environment that we're going through. So I'm still trying to figure out why would you
No, the
give
way
up?
we were
Why would you
fine.
give up that to be lighter skinned? That don't make no sense.
We were fine back then before colonization. We were okay. We were okay with knowing there are lighter skins, there are darker skins. We were justified. But then they came and we were taught that, the white people are the superiors. And it went on and on. It's all in the mindset. But just moving away a little bit from that, I need to ask Queen Malet this question. We have the Zimbabweans who are in the US or who are wherever, they want nothing to do with their countries. We have the Ghanaians who are in South Africa, they no longer want anything to do with Ghana because of whatever they face. How into Africa to be part of us, to work with us when us who are moving from our home countries into diaspora are not doing anything? How do we convince them? How do we call Africa home when we are running away from home and settle elsewhere and want nothing to do with home? How do we do that? Queen Malet, are you still with us? She's still with us?
Greetings, Sister Martha. Sorry, can you say the question again? I heard it, but I'm not just sure because
Can
I
you
didn't
hear her?
Oh.
Yeah, I can hear her.
Oh, it's a bit faint to me, but it's fine. She can go on.
I hear you. Yeah, can you repeat the question?
Yes. I was saying we have situations like Zimbabweans who have moved to America, or Ghanaians who have moved to America who want nothing to do with Africa or rebuilding Africa. Now we have King Ajamu, Prince George here, who are Black Americans. Some who have never been to Africa. How do we then convince them to come home and make Africa home when those who have been born in Africa, lived in Africa, want nothing to do with the continent? how do we connect them? How do we convince them to come and rebuild Africa and assist in whatever we are facing?
Thank you for that question, Sister Marta. But I always say there's something I always make sure to say or to emphasize in every interview or discussion I have. Those who are not convinced, you're not gonna waste time on that. But there are those who have interests, who never been, like you said, I think, if I'm not mistaken, like Brother Ajamu, who never been to the continent, but who wants to be the continent, who wants to be connected. You have to work on them. And we have to create a platform that will bring them. What do we have at home? Do we keep our home in order, to even receive I wouldn't say guests, but our brothers and sisters who were taken by force long time ago and who want to reconnect. What do we prepare on the ground to invite them? So we need to keep our house in order first. What do I mean that? For example, look at Ghana in 2019. They had this motto, or like a team for the whole year, return to Africa, or diaspora return, something like that. Maybe I did not phrase the right words, but where they invited all Africans who want to return to the continent and for them to visit it, and then even for those who want to immediately to repatriate, to organize things on the ground, like to give them land, or who wants to embark on the business. So they have that team, they worked on it, and then they invited them, and they got a lot of people, not only ordinary people or even celebrities who came in. That's really a big promo. And I did a research when I was doing my research master's in African studies. I did on the Rastafarian in Ethiopia. The title was Challenges and Paradoxes of Belonging. I did also a film, not a film, but a documentary, and I'm trying to change it now into a book. As an Ethiopian, and being married to a person who is from that community, from the Rastafari community in Ethiopia, I saw what was lacking. These people came without us being prepared, Ethiopia having prepared nothing. They have that call from the emperor, okay, this land is granted to you. But that's all the information they have. And even there were a lot of regime change that were not necessarily in line with the emperor's call, but they took a risk and they came. And they're very, persistent, and their endurance is amazing, and they still continue to call Ethiopia home. But I saw that gap as an insider, and an outsider. I observed that gap, and that Ethiopia is not really treating these people the way they deserve to be treated. So I tried to close the policy, and I managed to do that, by doing the research and suggesting to make a policy change to the government, using it could be our networks or whatever. So that really kind of impacted in a way. The other thing is also, as Frederick Douglass says, we have to invest on the children. We are not only colonized economically, we are colonized also in mind, that everything in the north, everything white is glittery and good and civilized and what have you. Everything good is associated with the northern part. I mean, although we can debate about which is, whether it's Africa in the northern part of the world or in the map, or, that's another thing. But let's just go now with what is existing. So we need to decolonize our mind, first of all. So, every time while we are trying to solve a problem on the grown-ups, we are wasting time, and then the children will grow up again. We are going to face another people who are not. So let's invest on the children and educate them, and bring everything that's African, the knowledge, whatever, what have you, the ancient, the kingdom of Africa, and all those knowledge. And then, in 20 and 30 years, we will just be fine. Africa will just be fine. You don't need to hustle after those, whose mind is colonized, or the white people, or whatever. Let's just invest on the children. Then otherwise we are going to be in this vicious circle trying to fix grown-ups, which is difficult, So those are my things. Those are answers for your question. But just let me take this opportunity to reflect on what is raised before. We are also, as an African and Black people, where we are an accomplice of these people. There are a lot of us who are working or paid by the white people and those humanitarian organizations, what have you, those international organizations who are paying our salaries in foreign currency, and who actually we have the information to expose them, their lies and what they are doing against the country wherever they are based. But just because we are paid that salary, then we don't have that brevity to come out and expose them. But recently, if you have been following the Ethiopian story, that we saw a couple of months ago, there was this 7 UN staff that were granted a non grata person or something in diplomatic language. But, the news has been saying they're expelled. Yes, they were told to leave the country in 72 hours because they were caught red-handed helping the rebels with satellites and different weapons and anything under the cover of humanitarian aid. So there was this guy, he's a journalist, he's known, so I can call his name. His name is Jeff Pearce. He's Canadian. I mean, he's historian, he's an author, he's an investigative journalist. So he has been following the Ethiopian story. So he went to Ethiopia actually to do a documentary, to ask people. So he was talking to this UN staff on the ground. As you said before, Ethiopia is a capital for the African Union and different UN organizations like the UN, United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, and all other, diplomatic and international organizations. So he talked to these UN people, and it wasn't even an interview because that will be dangerous for them. So he recorded their voice, and he said he would just use it as anonymous and for his writing. But systematically, his recording was stolen. People said the leaked audio, it was viral, but it was stolen from him, from the airport, because these people their hand is long. So in the airport, they managed to get, while his luggage is searched. So they stole that from him. Anyway, now those UN staff who exposed the point is the content in there. So there's this lady who was actually now, she was fired or on a forced leave. One is the UN head, the United Nations International Organization for Migration, the IOM head, who happened to be Kenyan, an African woman. And then another one who was telling Jeff Pearce, actually, this UN, the 7 of them were appointed. They were newly assigned people, hired from the New York UN office, and came to Ethiopia, definitely with the assignment of helping the rebels, to fight back the government and also throw the government of Abiy, because now he's not bowing down. So they mention them and they tell, they don't even have the contact with us. Their communication is directly with the New York office. And we told them that this is not right, what you are putting, and they become also a source of a news by the words that they are sending as a report, fake news. It gets amplified by the New York Times and the CNN and what have you. So they tried to keep them, this is what you are doing is not the right thing. So they were sidelined. The offices that are actually on the ground were sidelined and told them to keep quiet. And then these 7 staff were only the one who are acting on behalf of those organizations and communicating with the New York. So there are these things, maybe I lost my point, but there are also what I wanted to say is, yes, I know, the Black peoples who are working there in the UN, it doesn't have to be, for example, an African, a foreigner in Ethiopian case to tell or to expose what the UN is doing. We have a lot of Ethiopians, but who are, afraid if they tell the stories that they will be fired, who saw the wrongdoings of the UN in handling this conflict in Ethiopia, but we are not saying nothing. So we are also an accomplice. The other thing is also in terms of media, social media, we say now, okay, people are safe. They don't want to be on the bigger picture. First of all, we don't get the opportunity. But secondly, here we feel safe. But that is even we think that Facebook and Twitter will align. We will just reflect and leave us alone to say what we want. No, we have this Twitter as an Ethiopian to defend, because the battle is in two places now. Now there's the ground, the battle actually is a conventional war, and there is also an information warfare. So really to bring that correct narrative, we are engaged in bringing, the hashtags and then the Twitter campaign. But guess what? For the past 7 days, Twitter has been selectively blocking those Ethiopian activists and who are pro-Ethiopian and the unity of Ethiopia, blocking them and then slowing down and remove, anything that has Ethiopia selectively in the tweet, actually removing it in a way when we do this tweet. So we can't even rely on the social media until we have our own thing. So look at China. We don't have to have WeChat like them, but China, some people will say, why you bring China? China is the next colonizer. But at least China's don't mess with your policy. It's just business. I mean, we can talk about many things, but it depends on the deal of the country. So we have to take as an example and bring ours up, because we can't rely. Ethiopia is really a great manifesto for anyone oppressed in this world, because right now the social media is also discriminating against Ethiopia. So until we come up the currencies, you can go on and on, until we stop to depend on the foreign currencies, it's euro and dollar. They will just keep on enslaving us. Those are the things I think I wanted to thank you, Sister Martha.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for that. It's like we don't own anything as Africans, and as long as we don't own that, especially what you mentioned about information. Information is very important. On Facebook, they always make sure that they cut you off. They bring in fact checkers. They start fact checking everything that you say, no matter how true that is. They don't want the real truth to be shared out there. Hey, Prince
there we
George
go.
is back. We're looking for you. I don't know what happened. And we about 16 minutes to go. 14 minutes to go. 14 minutes, 4 minutes to go. So we discussed quite a lot. I'm not sure if you were listening, and I just want to pick your brain on the disconnect. What's the way forward? What's the solution to this disconnect between diaspora and Africans on the ground? What as Prince George, who wants to help Africa, what do you need? What are your questions? What do you believe that this is what is missing? What is lacking?
Well, the property of truth. I mean, where has the love been at? Because love was being used as a tool for division rather than unification. And, that's where we seem to have lost our first choices. Mm-hmm. The first choice is always peace.
That's right.
Because the love leads you into peace. We keep proper space from each other because we know when to reunite through the way we are connected within. Mm-hmm. That's something you can't silence. You don't have to be right next to them. You can just feel it in the air. It's peace, it's love. And the magic happens in the space. And magic is not something to be scared of, but magic is our spirit. It's the energy we feel flowing through us. It's my voice. It's our voice. It's our choice to speak freely and choose to see free and look straight forward.
Yeah.
Because when we look straight forward, we see our culture. And our culture is our truth. bringing our culture to the table, you see, okay, it's who we are supposed to be. We work for free because we have always been free.
That's
Our
right.
trade is our trade. We bring what we brought from within to the table so we can trade our goods. And those goods, that's our love that we're sharing. And as long as we're exchanging those tokens of truth and love, I mean, we're always connected. It's like a
That's
web
right.
of love, the fabric of life. It's who we are. And, you know, that's why we must look within first, master ourselves, create our crafts, find our crafts, create from your surroundings. Look at the ground, look at the sky, look at the trees. Something like this right here. It's a rock, a crystal rock. Very simple, very wholesome, straight from the ground. But it emits a sound that I can feel when I hold it to my heart. That's the love. That's the life we've always had inside. That's why somehow, some way, we fight through friction. And we just know deep down inside, if we let down the guard, it's always peace first. It's always love first. It's always respect of people's space. Because when we respect people's space, we're reconnecting. Because when we go back into our own, that's where we create our den. And in our den, we create our culture, our cultural crafts. See, these cultural crafts shared, they connect us from miles away. That's why only few people need to actually travel, because the trade routes are animals. There's no rush. We just know when to meet and where to find it. We look at the stars, we move them together because we are the stars within. You got to find what's inside and let it be free.
That's right. Wow, thank you so much for that, Prince George. Thank you so much. I do appreciate looking within. It's something that's been lacking. We go all out, you know, and wants to fight battles, but one that begins in here and spread love from one person to the next, we can get to where we are. We can understand each other's challenges. We can then connect to bring solutions. We are left with 9 minutes to go, and I need all of you guys for us. I think giving each other 2 minutes to wrap up as to what's the way forward. Where do we start, and how do we start it?
Check yourself first. Check yourself at the door, because you are the door to your own spirit, your energy. Make sure you're free. Make sure you're not afraid of who you are. Because once you see yourself in that mirror, you know, when you just looking around at other people and seeing how they reacting to the words you're putting out there, then you see, you know, it's just all me. I am the person I'm speaking to. I'm seeing myself in the mirror of their eyes, my neighbor's eyes.
Yeah.
The glistening, the gloss in our eyes. The glow listens from within. So just let it flow and take space, take time, no rush. Have patience. Because in that patience, we get our crafts.
Oh, here is me. I'm more than ready to conquer the world when I'm done conquering what's within me, what's inside, and appreciating who I am. We can move to Brother Ajamu. What are your closing remarks, and what's the way forward? How do we connect? Where do we begin? And what do we leave to somebody who is listening? A Black American, an African diaspora, an African in Africa who is desperate for connection, desperate for us to rebuild what is broken. Where do we start?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can say is that the reason why I'm where I'm at is because, just like Prince George said, it was dealing with the inconsistencies that I had from within. So I just focused on myself. I try to figure out what culture did I come from, what ethnic group did I come from, and then that is why I'm at, or where I'm at today in my mindset. So it was a personal journey. It wasn't a journey where other people influenced me or motivated me. It was me alone that actually, I was able to arrive to this point in my mindset. So he's right. You have to go within. I spent actually 6 years of my life where I isolated myself from the broader population.
Mhm.
And the question is, how many people actually do that if they're really serious? So I was serious enough to do it. I'm not advocating doing that. I'm just saying that's what I did. I needed to separate myself from the broader population and then try to figure out what was a lie and what was the truth. And also during that time, needed to find who I was as an individual. And then therefore, when I came out of that 6 year, so all I did was really go to work and come home. And even at work, I didn't really talk to anybody. I just kind of went to work, did what I had to do, said good morning, goodbye. I don't want to be rude, but I was on a journey. And then when I after I came out of that 6 year period, and by the way, the 6 year period was intense studying. There was intense studying. I was all by myself. I didn't go nowhere on the weekends. I didn't go to the store. None of that. I just removed myself as much as I could from the broader population because I knew something wasn't right. And then I did a lot of studying, did a lot of reading. And I looked at different perspectives. And when I came out of that, then that formulated who I am today. That actually formulated who I am today with this pro African, this pro love, pro unity type of mentality. Is because I had to like almost I had to like go down underneath the ground, you know what I'm saying, and kind of regenerate something that was already within me. It's just that the broader population, I was too into that. Like I was too, into the TV, into the all these different things, and it was a distraction. So I took those distractions out, and then I was able to see clearly. I was able to really see clearly. So that would be my thing to the people on that side, is that just be who you are, whoever you are. It's okay, if you're in a particular ethnic group, to be that. But you got to understand too. I don't only know about the ethnic groups that supposedly my lineage is connected to. I know about many ethnic groups on the continent. So it's not just in those areas that supposedly I'm connected to via DNA. I learn about I know about I know about something from every country on the continent, even the ones in the north. I'm talking about the ones in the Arab North, or I don't want to say Arab North, but North Africa. All right. So you have to educate yourself, self-educate, not indoctrinate yourself. You know what I'm saying? You got to
Yeah.
get away from the indoctrination and get into the self-education. I did that on my own, brothers and
That's
sisters.
why.
I did that on my own. You can do it. If I could do it, you could do it.
That's
And
why.
trust me, it was like a rebirth, quote
That's
unquote.
why.
Even though I don't like to use that term because it's kind of, yeah, because the English language to me doesn't really help describe what I really am
What you
feeling
really
deep down
feel.
inside. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very difficult. So
Sometimes.
I apologize for using the English language. However, and some people go, "Wow, what are you talking about? Apologize? No, I apologize because I could speak another language. It's just I have to go learn it. I have to go
Yeah.
learn it and take time. You know what I'm saying? So there's no excuse. There's no at the
Yeah.
end of
That's
the
right.
day, how far are you willing to go to really be African again and to
Yeah.
exhibit that love, that African love and African unity that a lot of people are talking about? How far are you willing to go?
Yeah, that's now a question to everybody who is listening. Queen Mallet, any closing remarks? We are in 2 minutes to go. I'm only left with 2 minutes on air. So any closing remarks? What would you need our Black brothers in the US and out of the world to assist with the Ethiopian situation? Just in 1 to 2 minutes, if we can.
Yes, Rise Up family. Thank you again, Sister Martha. Ethiopia needs us. Ethiopia needs African people's support. We are fighting an African war. So if this is not the time for us to unite, I don't know when, but just think about what kind of story you want to tell to your children, to your grandchildren. Are you going to tell, one of those stories, just like what we did, Thomas Sankara was killed because of this and that, Nyerere or Nkrumah was killed because of this and that, and then nobody couldn't do anything because for how long we could, we stand aside and see these things are happening in front of our eyes and while we hear it, and this is in the midst of our awakening. That time, maybe we can say we don't know, but now we know. So, and we didn't do nothing. I don't want to tell that kind of story to my children, to my 2 boys. So I want them to see me, to take part and contribute something to this fight, that to say no to neo-colonialism. And yeah, that's where I want to leave it. And please, keep on teaching the children. We don't need organization. We don't need platform. If we all can teach our children, our nephew, our niece, our cousins, we don't need to have children necessarily. And then, we are still contributing for Africa. Let's just pass and share that knowledge and choose what kind of story we want to tell. Thank you. And thank you, Sister Martha, for this.
Oh, thank you so much, Queen Mallet, for that. We really appreciate. Thank you, Prince George, and thank you, King Ajamu, for coming on air. And Tabitha, I see you. She's like one of my biggest fans. I love her contribution, and every Sunday she make it like it's a religious thing for her to be here, so that we keep on sharing information and taking it to the next level. The connection needs to happen. And like we all summarized, it begins here within ourselves. You make a decision on your own. This is where I want to go. This is how I want it to be. We'll be together again, I think, anytime soon. We're going to be catching up and taking this conversation to the next level. Goodbye to all listeners. Goodbye to everybody who is out there.